0.
Nice heavy class here of our commercial guild show, and I like some parts and pieces here of our class winner awfully good, and there's one hole that if I could get past, I think I could move her up just even higher in my mind. I just need to see that one come at me broader in terms of her knee set, but when we can look past that, I think that's one that's appropriate in terms of her flesh and softness will shape up high working in her for a breeding division. I love that one's just head and neck presence. She's a naturally loose skeleton, athletic type of gilt here. Love that hip and hock and hind leg working in her. Nice place to start here in this final class of these commercial gilts. The sharp-dressed one is going to be the Bluegill here that goes in second. That one has the added extension. She's sharp and tight about her throat. She's sharp and peeled back in terms of her skull shape. She offers you a striking view as she first comes in. I think she's adequate in terms of her rib and her body shape. I like her muscle working her up high. It's when I get to her rear 2/3, I need to sort her into second. She simply just wants to plant and push a little bit too far out of bounds for me in terms of how she wants to handle her rear toes and her hind leg. If I can bring her back in a little bit more, I think our conversation for our class winner becomes a bit more competitive there. Another one.
We have champion commercial gilt dress.
Okay, thank you. If you will for me, please, let's go ahead and put our hands together for all our exhibitors here in this commercial division. I think it's been exceptionally good. We get our 5 class winners back out here, and I'm not going to go through and talk all of these. We've still got plenty of show left to get through today, but I think it gets relatively close here as we're going to work some back in. But in terms of what we've got in the ring now, there's one that hit me awfully good. Young man in front of me is going to be your champion.
Champion commercial gilt goes to Jack Hansen.
We drop that second place gilt in and immediately one that comes into contention. And I think what we need to do is talk through our thought process here just a little bit from the side. And I think when that one comes out, man, we talked in class, there was an awfully good one that led things off. As you just saw, that one is so bold in terms of her body, so good in terms of her rib shape. We got a little critical on her. Maybe we say she's not as heavy featured, and we study her in terms of her ankle, a bit flatter in terms of her pastern, and maybe just not as bold in terms of her skull shape. But I think where that one's good, she's exceptionally good. And it gets a little bit closer. And another one we'll talk will be the young lady that comes out of the last class, and one that's just so effortless in terms of her movement. She's so balanced in terms of her skeleton. Like I talked in class, I love just the hip hock and just the hind leg set and function that one has in her. Her gaping hole for me is just as she comes at me, I need to just broaden her in terms of where she wants to place her knee. Need to open her up at the ground. As we compare those two back to each other and we think about what we do at home and in terms of how our criteria is for selecting sows, there's two things I'm uncompromising on. It's hind leg set and it's skeletal width. Our young man that's second in that class will be your reserve.
Reserve champion commercial gilt goes to Kyle Hughes. Can we have the champion Duroc and Berkshire Gilts back to the ring for grand champion overall? Another thank you to Home State Bank for sponsoring the live stream and bottles of water.
Awesome breeding gilt show. One more time for me, if you will, on all these gilt exhibitors throughout the day. Let's go ahead and put our hands together for them. I think 3 high-quality representatives and 3 fun divisions to sort through to get us started this morning, and we get them back out here, and as we study it, I'm not one to, for instance, I'm a terrible poker player because when something lights me up, I have a hard time hiding it, and as we study them and get them back out here, there's one that's pieces that are just so far-reaching, and whenever this gilt wants to act right, whenever she's not trying to go to the bathroom, whenever she's not wanting to fight the whip, and she just gets out and rumbles, I think that one does everything I need and more. Our young man with the commercial gilt is going to be your champion breeding gilt.
Grand champion overall gilt goes to Jack Hansen.
Bar none, the toughest decision I've had to make today, and I think that's a testament to the quality we've got out here, because even as we drop that second place in, it only makes things tougher. And I'll walk you through just a little bit here. In our reserve commercial gilt, it's one that we've talked about plenty enough today in terms of one that's just so overwhelming in terms of her body. We maybe question how stout she genuinely is in terms of her lower feature, her rear and her front ankle, maybe like the stout in her skull. We talked our Duroc in class, and I think in that division, perhaps I was a bit critical in terms of her chest width at times. I think when we study that one back out here, I think she's adequate for the breed. I think she's heavy in terms of her lower feature. I think she's great in terms of her body and her balance for the Duroc breed. And that's what it comes down to. And you ask yourself, you maybe go for a shot more athleticism? Do you maybe go for some harder reaching pieces and stoutness? I think where this one's good, she's good. At times she wants to maybe just not flow as good. It's not going to be enough for me to beat her today. Our young lady with the Duroc gilt's going to have your reserve.
Reserve grand champion overall gilt goes to Lauren Oakes. Next up, we have senior recognition. Can we have Logan Higgins and Justin Stream please come up to the arena? Justin Stream, please come to the arena.
We're going to do a senior recognition and senior scholarships right now. For the scholarships, the pork producers this year gave out 5 $500 scholarships in the county, 4 from Greene County School and 1 from Sheridan. We've got Logan Higgins out here and Carmen Pop out here from Sheridan. So congratulations to you guys and good luck good luck next year at school. And Logan will keep you out here. We got Justin coming for senior recognition. Thanks, Carmen.
All right, good morning, everyone. So we have 2 seniors in our swine division we would like to recognize this morning. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Logan and Justin, and they're just going to quickly introduce themselves and tell you guys their future plans. So here you go, Logan.
I'm Logan Higgins, and next year I'm going to further my education at Iowa Central to study ag studies.
My name is Justin Stream, and I plan on working on the farm and driving semi for my dad.
Let's give these 2 a big round of applause. Congratulations to our seniors.
Next up is Class 1 of Market Individual. The champion from today's Market Hog and Breeding Guild show will advance to the Heartland Throwdown, which was formerly the DMAC Bear Down. The champion will also receive a qualifying banner that has graciously been donated by our local Heartland Throwdown sponsor, SJK Farms and Trucking. Representatives from our country will compete against 7 other champions. Counties included in the Heartland Throwdown are Calhoun, Dallas, Greene, Guthrie, Jasper, Marshall, Polk, and Story. We welcome you to join us at the Story County Fairgrounds in Nevada on Saturday, July 30th. There will be a food stand on site, and the show will begin at 12:30 p.m. The winner selected by a team of judges at the Heartland Throwdown will then punch their ticket to the All Iowa Showdown in August. Come out and support the youth from Team Greene County.
Awesome way to kick off our barrel show, and one that suits me incredibly well. I love just the balance and proportions this guy brings to the table. He's stout about his skull. He's awesome in terms of his length of body. He's ripe in terms of his shape. I love just the flex and looseness of skeleton he's got. Easy class winner for me. Very nice place to start. add a few more into the mix and try this again. We're not going to talk that class winner. We know how I feel about that. Our young lady here is still going to remain in second, and that one is incredibly sharp off to the side. I don't think you can make a tighter throat latch or a tighter head and skull. We study him in comparison to our class winner. That one wants to get a bit too rigid for me in terms of his spine set. We study him up high. He's just not as flexible there in terms of his movement. It wants to bind him up right there just a bit behind his blade. If I can drop him down and maybe just loosen that up and give him a shot of rear feature and rear foot, I think it gets awfully competitive because that's a sharp-dressed one that offers us just an awesome look from the side. Our young man that's going to be in third with the Berkshire Hog here is one that's just a good basic type of fundamental market hog. I mean, he's moderate about his frame. He's adequate in terms of his flesh and muscle. He's sound enough about his hind leg. In comparison to the two above him, we just don't maybe find as much show ring appeal, as much look or extension in certain places there. Our young lady there with the calico is going to go ahead and be fourth, and one that maybe just gets a bit too rigid for me off both ends of her skeletons, both end of his skeleton, excuse me, and one that just gets a little bit drier there, but one that does have some shape, maybe looks like a leaner cutability type of hog that should maybe hang a good enough carcass there as well. Our young lady brings us a blue bearer that's maybe just got a little hitch in his giddy up for me as we study behind. He wants to get a little bit flatter in terms of his rear pastern. He wants to push that hawk out. We need to clean him up from a market hog perspective in terms of his lymph node swelling there on the back third of his body. One that has a good flesh cover to him, one that has an adequate amount of look. Just need to reconfigure a couple things there. Our young man runs out the class with our other Berkshire Hog here. Another high grading type of individual for a market hog scenario. Moderate in his frame. Simply put, I need to just square that one's hind leg up to move him up any higher today. Congratulations to all those very good top pair that are on our first class of crossbred bearers.
Class 1 winner of Market Individual goes to Kyle Hughes. Next up is Class 2 of Market Individuals. In Class 3, can you please be on deck?
little tougher class to put together here, but I'm very comfortable with the place we're going to lead off with the young man's Duroc barrel. Obviously, I think he could agree with me when saying at times we wish we could give him just a little bit better attitude there for him as he wants to give him a little trouble, but nonetheless, he stuck with him there. And I think when you begin to analyze that one just in terms of a function in a market hog scale type of setting, I think that one offers the most here to this class. I think he's jet level in terms of his skeletal design, great in terms of his hip and his tail set and his pin set. He's broad and expansive when we get on top of him, and maybe when we're studying from the side, one that's that tall shouldered and one that's that attractive, you wouldn't think there's maybe that much power up high. I was pleasantly surprised when I began to study him from that aspect. I think that one opens up into a broad loin edge. I think he's good about the turn to his upper shape. Nice type of bear here to lead off with here. Our young lady brings us a belted one here that's going to be second, one that maybe has an advantage in terms of lower proportions. Has got maybe a shot more belly, maybe a little bit bigger hind leg there. This one falls out of bed for me just in terms of his balance off to the side. He wants to get maybe a little more nondescript in terms of his neck and his poll, a little bit wastier in terms of his jowl. Need to reconfigure how that one handles the top side of his pin set. He wants to hitch and go just a little bit awkwardly for me. Another Duroc bear here in third that mirrors our class winner in terms of silhouette and bounce from the side. I just don't find the same product and punch as what we do in that class winner. Mainly as he comes at me, I need to pry him apart in terms of his width. Young lady here in fourth, it brings us one that's just a longer, leaner cutability type of hog, and maybe just a bit too long for me in terms of frame size today, being as he can't compensate with a little bit more punch to the lower portion of his body. He is one that has muscle, he is one that has some function to him. Our one that rounded out the class looks like maybe he just sustained a little bit of an injury there, a little bit flatter in terms of his hind leg, maybe a little bit ouchy there in terms of his toe set. Good class of market hogs.
Class 2 of market individual winner goes to Adam Bills. Next up, we have Class 3 and Class 4. Please be on deck.
Young man in front of me is driving the belted barrel that for me just needs to win in terms of just whole center body capacity and just internal dimension of that one, while still offering us a good look ahead of his blade. I love his jaw. I love his just the general skull shape and look at quality and extension he's got through the front 1/3 of his skeleton. Of the class, I reckon him just to be the most expansive when we study him right there at the forefront of his heart into his forearm and his upper rib. I think that one's coupled with the right kind of shape. If I can get super critical, maybe he's got a shot more set to his hind leg as we study his angles from the side than maybe what I'm super comfortable with, but nonetheless he still bends and flexes and moves everything in the right direction while offering us some product. I think that's the logical place to start here. One that is sharp and one that is maybe just a little bit longer about his face and a little bit drier in terms of his body, but he's got a lot of muscle up high and he's got a good hind leg into him. I just don't read him to have the same expansion and power as we find in the center portion of his body cavity. It's what we did our class winner, and without checking ear notches, I'd almost imagine this same young man maybe drove us to littermate guild earlier. If not, I'd imagine that's the same gene pool there, because that's a spitting image as well. Hogs that are sharp about their look, have some muscle, maybe we just need to expand and soften from a center body perspective. Our third in this class is going to be the young lady there on the far side, and one that is leaner about his muscle up high. It's from his hip back. I maybe just need to change him a little bit to make him a shot more competitive. He wants to round out of the backside of his hip, maybe pushing a little bit more heat back there than where I'd like, and throws his balance off on how he wants to handle his rear toes and his hind leg from time. He's a longer extended type of pig though that will have a high cutability and lean ratio when we study the muscle on the top side of his skeleton there. Our young man with the solid black hog in fourth is actually one that intrigues me a lot, and I struggled with where to put this one, and honestly when it comes down to it, he's just a little bit shorter couple. He comes in a smaller package, and I'm going to term him maybe the SRL hog, and you might think, Drake, what is SRL? Well, he's sound, round, and low to the ground, and maybe just a shot more on the lower end for me. I need to elevate him in terms of his frame size, but you talk about one that's got some power, one that's got some frame, one that's got some hind leg durability there, a nice type of hog there that goes into fourth. One that should never got comfortable, one that just maybe wants to get a little bit too tentative in his step for me is what we're going to find in the belted barrow here that goes fifth. If I can just give that one some ease and comfort out here, maybe give him a shot more shape on the top side of his skeleton, we can move him up a little bit higher. Congratulations on another nice class of market hogs.
Class 3 winner of Market Individual goes to Gavin Sharman. Next is Class 4, and Class 5, will you please be on deck? I think it's Lauren Oakes, please come to the show ring.
The one we used to lead off with is one that's incredibly far-reaching in terms of the uniqueness of the pieces that he offers. That is the heaviest boned barrow in terms of his forearm, in terms of his hind leg, as you're going to find at most places. He carries that broadness and stoutness all the way up to the top side of his skeleton. He's great in terms of his shape. If I could get super critical, maybe we'd like to see his heart and the lower portion of his body cavity open up just a shot more, especially as we study him at the ground. But for one that's just that heavy skeleton and that dense about his feature and can still handle it with some comfort and ease, I certainly think that one's unique enough to run away with this one. A young lady here with the belted one on the far side offers us a lot of the same pieces in terms of bulk, maybe a shot even better yet than our class winner in terms of her lower fill. I don't read that one as durable in terms of her lower feature. She gets a little bit flatter, a little bit frailer, in terms of her lower feature. We study that one's hind leg going away, and at times maybe we don't have the same bend and flex, but I think that's getting awfully critical on a very good top pair in this class. The young man offers us one that has the advantage over the two above him in terms of just natural extension from his neck, tying out of the top side of his blade. I think that one offers us a good silhouette from that perspective. He's a hog that offers us some lower belly. He's a hog that offers us some rib shape and muscle. I just need to reconstruct him as he comes at me. He wants to maybe just plant and twist on his front feet a bit too much. When we study the rear third of his body, he wants to tie up in terms of his ham-loin junction. He wants to funnel in at the ground in terms of his width going away. If I can just broaden him there in those aspects, I think that becomes a bit more competitive there. Our young man brings us one that is a big hip type of individual and one that is obviously of a leaner carcass, but one that looks like it would yield good. We studied the width and compared to the two below it, I thought that one opened up just a bit more genuine at the ground there. A nice type of market hog there as well. Our young lady brings us another one there that's patterned similar from a build perspective. Didn't read that one to have the same skeletal width as what we find the one above him, and the one that rounds out the class. I need to just reconstruct his hind feet. He inhibits him a bit too much for me in terms of movement to move him up any higher. Nice class of market hogs.
Class 4 winner of Market Individual goes to Paisley Lautner. Class 5 is up next, and Class 6, please be on deck.
Logical place for us to start, a young man with the wider belted barrel here, and one that offers a lot of good there, and not only from a market hog perspective, not only from a scalable quality perspective, but from a show pig and show ring experience perspective. I think that one's just added elevation, the sharpness and turn to his shape up high. I love his rib shape and the lower portion of his cavity. He handles his hip and hind leg comfortably. He's heavy about his feature. Easy place to start off with for me there. The young man brings us one that maybe have a little bit of Yorkshire back in there, and that's maybe to attribute to the added flesh he's got. He's a moderate type of barrow that's shorter in his back length. He's heavy in terms of his lower feature. I read him just a little bit wastier in terms of his jawline, a little bit looser in terms of his throat latch. I can't get that one to quite blend quite right for me as we studied from his shoulder blade. His neck just wants to maybe drop off a little bit too far in front of his blade. He wants to raise that chine up a little bit too much for me. Talk about one that's got some power, one that's got some feature and does so in a moderate package. I think that's the logical place there to go second. Our young man brings us one that's a little bit more basic in his design. He's lighter in his feature compared to the two above him, but nonetheless, I think it's a good practical type of hog there as well, and one that's got some function, got some mobility. He's got some muscle and some cover on him. I think he'll finish nice for that young man. Our hog there, down there on the far side, is one that of the bottom two, I read just to have a little bit more expansion when we study his loin eye up high. He's got a little more spread, a little more product to offer. I'll be the first to admit he maybe gives up a little bit in terms of feature. Is the one that we're going to round out the class with, but I thought his added product and I thought his added balance and mobility and comfort at times was enough to justify him moving up a slot higher. Same can be said here about the young ladies in terms of her general build and design. Hogs that are patterned similar. That one's just a little bit bigger framed and it's working to his disadvantage today. He wants to get a little bit drier, a little bit lighter in terms of his muscle, a little bit flatter in terms of his body shape. Nice class of market hogs there.
Class 5 winner of Market Individual goes to Brent Denhart. Next up is Class 6, and Class 7, please be on deck.
tougher top pair here to pick apart, but I think the one that's just offers more genuine softness of body and a more balanced package would be the young lady's black-headed bear here to lead us off with here. I like that one's proportions from a show bear and a market hog setting. He's broad about his back. He's broad about the width between his blade. He's got the right kind of curvature to his rib. He's got the right kind of shape. I'll be the first to admit maybe he's packing a little bit more heat in terms of width going away from what I'd like to see. He handles his hop good enough. He wants to push and plant a little bit outside his skeleton for me in terms of his toes. That's not going to be enough for me to knock him down today. I think that's a logical class winner here. A nice type of Duroc bear here in this class is what the young man in second brings us, and maybe one that just gives up some power and some overall body shape and dimension to our class winner. If I can maybe just jerk that one's tail head a little higher up, raise that one's pin set, and get that one to balance aesthetically from a profile for me a little bit better, maybe drop his flank and add some feel to him, I think we can make that a shot more competitive. But a Duroc bear that offers us some feature, a Duroc bear that offers enough muscle there for the breed, a logical second place there as well. Our young man here that comes in, our young lady there that comes into third is one that's just a sound, practical type of market hog. He's a bit too nondescript for me in terms of his muscle up high. If I can just carve him out a little bit more, if you will, in terms of shape, I think we can justify maybe talking him up a place higher there as well. One that is on the opposite spectrum there, maybe just a little bit too much body. He wants to have a little bit more swelling back there in his flank area. If we can just trim him up a little bit and elevate him, I think we can move him up as well. Our young man brings us one that's just a little bit too tentative in terms of his step. It's not one that just ever got quite comfortable enough for me. Still a market hog there that offers us some muscle. He's obviously made it this far in terms of his weight progression, which is certainly good. Getting towards the latter end of things there. Need to just see that one move with more comfort and ease.
Class 6 winner of Market Individual goes to Estella Carver. Up next we have Class 7. And Class 7 is our final class of Market Individual. Can we have all Market Individual first class winners on deck?
tougher top pair here, and it comes down to more of a preference in terms of agility and movement as we study our class winner. I think both of these two on the top end offer just a great amount of shape up high. I think they're adequate in terms of their forerib shape, in terms of their lower body feel. For me, our class winner just hinges and goes a little bit better, wants to handle her hock a bit more coordinated, a bit more athletically. I like the function that one's got from a hip and rear leg aspect. We'll call width a wash because I think both of those are about the same as they come at us. Could stand to maybe see them a shot wider in terms of their chest, but certainly not enough to pick on them. My main issue that made this pair a little bit closer, I think this one wants to rock a bit forward in her blade. It throws off her height of shoulder at times, but that's a fresh shape kind of one that offers just a more durable, more athletic type of hind leg for me. The young man's blueberry here that comes second is the sharper looking one in terms of his front third. He's got the more natural elevation there. He gets a little bit drier for me in terms of his heart shape, and more importantly, as we study him going away in terms of his left hock, I need to see that one just relax his pasture and just have a little more flex and comfort as he moves away from us there. Our young lady in third that's since left us there is one that maybe just gives up a little bit too much power there in comparison to the two above us. Didn't read that one to have the same comfort. Our young man with the red belt that comes out next in fourth, I thought his hip and his hind leg were dang good. I just thought he was too dry and washed out for me in terms of his body. Our fifth place hog was a solid black one out of that class that we've still got in here, and one that just gets a little bit softer about his condition for me. Got a little bit more fill and a little bit more cover than where I'd like to see for his frame size. Our sixth and seventh place hogs in this class were two that were built very similar from a skeletal design perspective. I thought both of them maybe just got a little bit more upright. Our sixth place hog, I read a little bit more genuine, a little bit stouter in terms of his feature at the ground. Our seventh place hog maybe just gets to be the frailest feature there of our last pair, our bottom pair there. A nice class of market hogs to round us out. Congratulations to all those exhibitors.
Class 7 winner of Market Individual goes to Evan Karstens. Can we get all first class winners up to the show ring now, please?
Well, like we did for our breeding guild exhibitors, if you will, go ahead and give our market hog exhibitors a big round of applause. I thought they've done a fantastic job all the way through. Like we did in the Guilt Show, I'm not going to go back and individually talk all of these. And as for Grand Drive speeches, if you're one that knows me, I'm not one to give a speech. I'm not one to impose my opinion on very many people. And I'm certainly not one that even likes conversation that much. I like to kind of just go about our daily life there, breeding hogs, engulf myself in that, talk to a handful of people. More importantly, just try to be a student of the game and learn. And I don't have a lot of great wisdom to impart here on the younger kids that we've got in front of us. And I've just encouraged them, and I think it's similar to the speech I gave last year. If this is something that you're passionate about, there are more avenues than ever to get into this. And I'm not talking maybe just showing hogs. I mean, we heard our two seniors that were honored. One of them's going to go home and farm. I mean, he's going to go back to his family. I mean, that right out of high school, he's going to forego college. I got a lot of respect for that. I did the same thing. I came back to the family farm. I've been there since. If you know what your heart's doing, if you know what your desires are, don't deny it. You know, that life's too short to be caught up doing something you don't want to. So that being said, if there's something you want to do, give it your all. Go forward with it. Chase it to your desire. If show pigs is something you love, I can point you in the direction of a swine circuit that happens for about 6 weeks every summer. That was one of the greatest parts of my childhood coming up, and I know it's been dang good for several other kids. And the livestock product itself, the quality of children this turns out, I think it's just second to none. And I've talked to several guys that maybe are in the medical field or lawyers or bigger fields. They're looking for the kids that are out here grinding in the ag ring. They know these kids have a duty to do. They know they're committed to it. They know they have a passion when they wake up every morning, and they're going to be committed. And that's the kind of young professionals and young leaders that we want going out. Is going to be the kids like this that are going to be busting it, participating in 4-H, learning valuable life skills. And for that alone, I think every kid that showed today deserves one more big round of applause just for being committed, having a passion, and chasing it. We'll get back to the market hogs here, and I'll get off my soapbox. And I think it comes down relatively to a pair of them. And there's one for me. And I know maybe the trend that if you're following sizes, maybe on the market gilt or on the breeding gilt show, maybe we gravitate more towards some heavier frame gilts. I promise you that I'm not one to size things out, and I'm dang sure promising you I'm not going to leave them out if I think they're the best one. That being said, our best one today comes in maybe a little bit lighter package, but I think he's dang good. The young man in front of me is going to have your champion.
Grand Champion Market Individual goes to Kyle Hughes.
We dropped that second place in, and we'll get to that. And to further reiterate on that champion, man, I thought, that one's about as good in some aspects as you're going to find, especially in these settings. And I know the trend may be, if you're hanging around in show pig circles, you hear the term long, short, long thrown around. What they're describing, ones that are long in their hip and ones that are short in terms of their, the moderation they've got to their frame and their back length, and still long about their extension. As a hog breeder, it's not easy to do, but when you find one, I think you can gravitate towards them. And I thought that champion did that to the fullest. We drop our second place out there, and like we talked in class, I think that one was so sharp and so out there in terms of his extension, in terms of his throat, his skull shape. You ask yourself, is that one loose enough in terms of his spine set? Can I get him to blend right behind his shoulder? Is his swelling on his lymph nodes going to be a bigger issue on down the road? These are questions you ask yourself, and it's certainly one that it comes down to for being in contention. There's another one for me that just in terms to our champion maybe gave up just a little bit of range of motion. I didn't find the same athleticism, but in terms of being bulky and heavy about their frame and durable about their skeleton, big back, great about their shape, awesome about their hip. If we can get him just to hinge and loosen and move just a little bit quicker, I think we can move him up a notch further on down the road or at other venues. But for me today, our reserve champion is going to be the young man there on the far side with the belted barrel. Congratulations to him.
Reserve Grand Champion Market Individual goes to Brent Denhart. Can we have Matthew Gannon and Estella Carver please come to the ring?
So this year we did a new production program. In the past, it's always been heavily relied on rate of gain. We no longer do rate of gain. This one is geared towards kind of what the industry is looking for in a production hog. This would go down to Tyson, Perry, and Hang. So they take into consideration and kind of score them based on what the industry wants. And so it's kind of an educational piece, I think, for the kids. I think it's good to have some real life numbers put in front of them to see if this pig would go and hang, what it would, how it would look and grade, and kind of what the premium discount would be on it. This year, our champion was Matthew Gannon, and our reserve grand champion was Estella Carver.
Congratulations to our Grand and Reserve production. Next, really quick, before we begin Pen of 3, we are going to introduce our Fair Queen. So I will hand the microphone over to Hannah, and she's going to introduce herself and tell you guys a little bit about herself.
All right. Hi, I'm Hannah Curtis. I am the 2022 Greene County Fair Queen. I am currently a sophomore at Simpson College, where I am a double major in both English and history. I am very excited to be back here at the Greene County Fair and very excited to be representing Greene County as your Fair Queen, and I'm just thrilled to be back.
Let's give Hannah a big round of applause.
Started talking really fast. No, you're good. Next up, we will have Class 1 of Pen of 3.
going to get into our Pen of 3 show now, and for those of you that might be wondering, what is a Pen of 3 show, or what am I as a judge out here looking for? As it was explained to me, and it could be wrong, and if it is, let me know. I like to learn about, the swine industry as much as anybody, but the way it was explained to me, the Pen of 3 was a method they used more at the stockyards, and for buyers to, the ideal goal is to get 3 hogs that are market ready at the same size, or similar frame scores, or similar muscle scores, just 3 identical market hogs. I'm not necessarily talking color. I mean, obviously that can be ideal in some perspective, but we're looking for 3 hogs that are going to be similar yield grade and similar finish points there. And then ultimately, back in the day, it's less hogs you got to string out, more profit you can cash in at the same time. For me, I think there's one that wins rather easily in this class. It'll be the young lady there along the gate. I think in terms of frame size, she's got 3 individuals that max up about right. I think maybe if we're critical, I think the calico maybe spoils the bunch just a little bit. He's a little bit drier in terms of his finish. He's a little bit lighter in terms of his muscle compared to the bigger, bulkier barrows. The 3 hogs that are probably of similar age, of similar finish rate. Nice type of Pen of 3 to start us off with here. Our young lady in the corner is going to go ahead and be second, and I think. I think we've got 2 hogs that match up really well in her pen, and being the 2 belted hogs, and hogs that are maybe a little bit longer and leaner about their flesh, but great in terms of their muscle, similar in terms of their body size. What sorts her into second is going to be our blue barrel in this instance, one that maybe just doesn't match up as well from a maturity perspective as a flesh perspective, and in comparison to the good Pen of 3 that we lead the class off with here. Our young man brings us another solid Pen of 3 that we're going to round out with here, maybe 3 just to different types and kinds of endpoints. We've got a belted barrel that's a little bit further along in terms of his finish. It's just going to go ahead and exceed the pack there in terms of days to market. We got a belted barrel that's more modern in his frame, but maybe just doesn't match up as well with the 2. We've got a smaller type of bluegill there that we can't just get to match the other 2 type of hogs from a size or from a grade standpoint there. Maybe you just need to maybe make those a bit more uniform to move them up any higher. Congratulations on our first class of Pen of 3.
Class 1 of Pen of 3, winner is Riley Rankin. Can we have Class 2 come into the show ring and Class 3 be on deck? Grand and Reserve winners, please go to the back of the arena after class for pictures, please. Just a couple thank yous. Thank yous to the parents, family members, mentors, and volunteers. Thank you to Jeff Hughes for the banners, for Hannah Curtis for being back here and handing out ribbons and trophies. Thank you to the Fair Board and the Greene County pork producers. Thank you to the Iowa State Extension staff. Special thank you to our new CYC, Samantha Hardaway. She was doing a great job in her new role. And thank you to Home State Bank for sponsoring the live stream and the bottled water today.
was over from the word go when this young lady came in, because I think this is the whole goal of the pen of three, and 3 hogs that I don't think you could try any harder to get them that accurate in terms of their weight, that accurate in terms of their fat cover, and that accurate in terms of their lean muscle mass. 3 nearly identical in terms of frame, 3 nearly identical in terms of finish. Dang good pen of 3 group here to start our class off with here. Our young man on the far side is going to be second. And in terms of quality and individuals, which is maybe not what we're looking for, you know, if that were the case, I think he might win this class, because I like all 3 of those hogs from an individual perspective. We just have 3 maybe different body types. I think we can get the blue and the half-mass type of barrow there to match up maybe from a longer, leaner perspective. Our gilt kind of throws his pin out of balance. She's maybe got a little bit more cover, a little bit more finish on her, just a little bit of difference, and honestly just ran into an awfully tough one ahead of it. Our young man that rounds us out kind of runs into the same deal. I just can't get either of these 3 to match up is my issue there. We have a longer, leaner type of barrow, a barrow that's more midstream in terms of his condition and flesh, and a barrow that's maybe just a little further along from a muscle perspective. Good class of pen of 3, very good class winner. We'll get you one more class of these and then select your champion.
Class 2 winner of pen of 3 is Emma Hoyle.
We get into our last class of pen of 3, and we've obviously got 2 different types of pens where maybe the individuals were assembled for a different kind of goal. We have a young man maybe that focused more towards the show pig ring and some further reaching, modern looking genetics. We have a young man that maybe has more some production oriented there and cares maybe a shot more, or focused a shot more, I guess I should say, in terms of carcass merit and value and such things as that. That being said, in terms of a pen of 3, I think he's got a dang good one as well that's going to be fun to get back out here for champion. I think 3 hogs that match up incredibly well from a size and frame score perspective. I think finishing, fat finish and fat cover are very similar in all 3 of those. Nice type of pen of 3 to start us off with here. In any other class, I think this young man's pen of 3 becomes a bit more competitive. We got 2 hogs here, the black one and the red belt, that match up incredibly well from just a frame size and finish perspective. Leaner types of hogs that maybe just don't have as much bark on them in terms of fat, but balance up well. It's his belted barrow here that throws him out of whack for me in comparison to our class winner. A little bit higher yielding in terms of fat composition there on that one, and maybe we just can't get that true of a balance up as well as our class winner, but nonetheless a nice second place pen of 3. Go ahead and put your hands together for that class. We'll give you a champion.
Pen of 3, Class 3 winner goes to Matthew Gannon. In the ring now is Grand Champion Pen of 3 Drive.
we get our 3 class winners back out here and begin to analyze them. And like I said earlier, I'm terrible at poker because whenever one lights my fire, I get a hard time hiding it. We get some further study here just out of my own curiosity. We got the same litter notch in all 3 of these, which would make a lot of sense. I'd imagine the young lady here brought us a trio of litter mates there. Like I said, in terms of just carcass merit, balance, cutability, lean fat ratio, I think these 3 are dang good, as close as you can get them. That's a dang good pen of 3. Congratulations to that young lady.
Grand champion, pen of 3, goes to Emma Hoyle. Jack Hansen, can you please bring your pen of 3 up to the show ring?
We won't put that second place through the added stress of having to come back up here. I had my mind made up anyway. I think there's another one that just balances up so well from a perspective in comparison to that class winner. We might have a one in this pin that maybe just has a higher fat ratio there, and which is getting awfully nitpicky on a very good pen of 3. We just ran into a great one ahead of it. That being said, our young man out here that wins our last class is going to be your reserve pen of 3.
Reserve grand champion, pen of 3, goes to Matthew Gannon.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming to our swine show today. Special thank you to our judge, Drake Cook, for judging the show today. Thank you to the Greene County pork producers for helping out in the arena and grilling us a delicious lunch today. So please hit up the Clover Cafe for lunch grilled by our pork producers. And also thank you to all the parents, family members, mentors, and volunteers that made this all happen today. We could not have done this without all of you, so thank you so much for continuing our 4-H and FFA program here in Greene County. Special thank you as well to our Iowa State Extension staff, our new CYC Samantha Hardaway, our Fair Queen, and Jeff Hughes for the generous banners for our champions this year. Also, one last friendly reminder to all of our exhibitors, please make sure that you are cleaning the alleyways and the swine barn clean the remainder of the fair this year. And thank you to Home State Bake again for sponsoring the live stream today and for providing all the bottled water for everybody today. Thank you all so much for coming. Have a great rest of your fair.
Going to 30.